see if I have audio. Let's see if I have video. We've got the goal going. Okay. Now I'm just waiting and... Wait a second. Commercials. Still not used to it. So it'll be a few seconds, and then hopefully, all will be well, and we can get this show on the road. Do I have audio? Do I have video? Let's see. Yes, we do! It's the Nazarite bringing you Hebrew lore from days of yore. Okay, so we have a goal this time. For the last 2 times that I tried this, we actually reached the monetary amount, but not the amount of super chats. So I really lowered the bar as for what super chats would be admissible for the purposes of completion of the goal. And hopefully this will happen. And I will wear my giraffe onesie. So AMA, freaky folk. Hey, Garfield is here. Good morning. How are you? I'm doing all right. I just got back from the office and I'm taking a couple of hours off. And hopefully later I'll be able to get back to work. But I really wanted to do this now and go live. It is such a beautiful day. So happy to be here. Also, hey, there's nobody home. Hey, I can be loud, at least a while. And then later I'll have to go pick up the kids. But for now, here I am, ready to get into it. And there is so much to get into. Oh my God. So first of all, the podcast that I did last week here in Israel, in Tel Aviv. I'll read you a couple of the comments. Yair Cohen said, "This is a mental patient. You and I can also talk to God for 10 hours with a little drop of something, meaning acid, right? To which I said, yes, I'm definitely mentally ill, right? Like it says in the Song of Songs, I am lovesick. Second, I've had the opportunity to do acid a few times, and it's lovely, but it comes from the outside. And wouldn't an ego death and a connection to self that comes from the inside be better? Third, talking to God is great, whether you do it for 10 hours in the woods, in the forest, in nature, or whether you do it for 10 hours on acid. The only thing is to be careful, be cautious, right, and respect the substance. Fourth, I told him that from his name, it sounds like he's a priest. His name is Cohen. His family name is a priestly family name. And so I told him there's a very good chance that there's more to you than you know, or not. Another couple of people said there is no Nazarite ship these days, and this is something that I've come across. Not many people, because it's not as if I walk around with a sign broadcasting I'm a Nazarite, but once or twice, or maybe a little more than once or twice, a handful of times when people found out I was a Nazarite, they said, oh, you shouldn't do that, there's no Nazarite ship these days, not knowing the reasoning behind it, not knowing the halacha behind it, nothing. People are so used to jumping to conclusions. One person accused me of being a Christian, and he said that I completely lack awareness, to which I go, okay, you're free to think that, but I'm definitely not a Christian. And so many people don't even know that the Nazarite ship is something that exists with or without a temple. It's just such a shame that because of exile and because of destruction, the connection between the Hebrew people and the Hebrew Nazarite ship, it was never severed. But there's so many foreign thoughts, so many foreign ideas, such a disconnect between the Hebrew people and the Hebrew Nazarite ship. Good evening, coward, says Zimbab. Good evening to you as well. I definitely am cowardly on certain things, I would think, because far be it from me to say I'm not, but I would like to be a little less of a coward with each passing day. You're high on life for real, says Garfield. I try to be. I really do try to be. And I'm not poo-pooing recreational drugs or drugs that are in the spiritual, ritualistic sense. Not at all. But I always say it's better that the bulk of your psychedelic and mind-expanding, mind-revealing experiences come from within and not from without. And if you take some sort of a substance, organic or lab-made, cool, but use it as a supplement. Don't substitute one for the other. Supplement one with the other. Okay. Let's continue. I'll never accuse you of being a Christian. You look like a Jew, says our dog. Yeah, some people say I look like a Jew. That's true. Whatever Jew, I'm a goon regardless, says Evo Chud. Hey, look, I'm not judging, but gooning, assuming you mean the same gooning and not being like one of the Goonies, like in the 80s film, right? Because they were all good. But if you're gonna goon, I'm thinking maybe take it easy, because self-pleasure and sexual discovery is one thing, but gooning for hours and hours and losing your mind in pornography is not good for the psyche, it's not good for the soul, if you believe in such a thing, and probably not good for your body either, and not for the individual and not for society. So don't lose yourself in that. It's really, really addictive. Better to avoid that. Happy Tuesday, Daniel. Happy Tuesday indeed. Mayank Singh says amen, and amen to you. Truth, truth. Mr. Hebrew, what's the meaning of life, my friend? The meaning of life is to give life meaning. That is the meaning of life, laughing goat. That's the meaning of it. Meaning life is what you make of it. So if you are looking to have a meaningful life, live a life of purpose. Live a life of meaning. Shoulder a burden. Take on responsibility. Don't bite off more than you can chew, so you'll be just trodden down and desperate and horrified by life. But take on something. Take on something real. Take on something true. Shalom Achi, says Ryan Clash. Hello, my brother, to you. 2027, Israel not exist, says Selami. Well, Selami, okay, if you think Israel won't exist, God willing, Israel won't exist, the United States won't exist, no countries or borders will exist, we will be able to embrace each other as a unified human species, of one big human family. There will be no need for countries or nations. There will be no need for, it's not that we will be all uniform, but we will be united. And so all the borders and the countries and the nations will fall away of their own accord. I agree, Salami. May none of the nations exist, and may we be able to go back to that Edenic mindset before there were nations, before there were cultures, before there were religions or faiths to divide us. Just a real embrace of each other as human beings. Timothy is here. Hey, Timothy. It's good to exercise, says the real Indiana Cones, bruh. Hey, you've been here before. It's good to see you again. Good to see you again. You move a lot, though, says Evo Chud. Yeah, you move a lot, but only specific parts of you, Evo Chud. So I'm thinking, if you're going to exercise your entire body or certain muscle groups, and the wrist, and the forearm, while they are indeed, even if you switch off hands, it's a very limited sort of exercise. You know what I'm saying? Are you a rabbi? Matt Black asks. No, I am not a rabbi. I'm not a scholar. I'm not a sage. I'm not a teacher. I'm not telling you what to do or how to do it. I'm just here talking to people, rambling and raving and ranting and drooling. Just one simple dumbass in the Middle East with a phone. Hang on, I'm taking my tea bag out. Today, I'm enjoying a cup of black tea with organic fruit, right? A forest fruit. It's still a bit too hot. Okay. Assalamu alaikum says, well, a few people. Wa alaikum salam. I am the great Cornholio, says Flippy. Are you threatening me? Love me some Beavis and Butthead. In the old school, I don't know, I haven't seen the new Beavis and Butthead. Also, I went to the movie theater in the 90s to watch Beavis and Butthead Do America. It was lovely. How long will you keep your vow? Until my grave. That's what I took it. That's the Nazarite vow of a Samson Nazarite. It's till the grave. Are you from Israel, says Luis. Asks Luis. Yes, I am in Israel. I'm in Jerusalem as we speak. Are you Jewish? Yes, I am. I'm a Hebrew man of the kingdom of Judah. Muhammad was deceived by Satan, says XD. If you say so, I know nothing of Muhammad, but deceit is something that Satan, meaning the adversary, engages in all the time. The idea is that he does his job and we're supposed to do our job. His job is to set the stage of deceit. His job is to make us fall, to make us transgress. That's his job. That is his purpose. He is serving the Most High. We are supposed to be serving the Most High by not giving in to that call and not being led into temptation under false pretenses and not falling for the act, right, that the adversary is actually putting up. Why bomb everywhere, says Just for Astrology. I don't think, if you're talking about Israel, Israel doesn't bomb everywhere, but if we have enemies who are coming to kill us all, and make no mistake, they are, then we will definitely defend ourselves. We are fighting a defensive war. Pastafarian, that's right, Timothy. All praise goes to the flying spaghetti monster, Ramen. I love me some Pastafari. Flippy says, is there two of me? Give me all your teepee! Also, the Beavis and Butthead reboot actually has a higher rating than the OG series. Plus, the new movie is also really good. There's a new Beavis and Butthead movie? I don't know if I'll enjoy it. I would rather keep it in the ether of history. I haven't seen Beavis and Butthead Do America in a very long time. And I haven't seen the series in a very long time. So I think that if I sat down... Look, I like Mike Judge. He's interesting. I liked King of the Hill a little bit, and what Office Space, was that him as well? I dig him. Idiocracy, I think, was also written by him. It's like I dig his humor. I happen to think that if I sat down to watch Beavis and Butthead now, it won't hit me, it won't land the same, so I want to keep it in the mystery of history and just know that I had my time in MTV in the 90s, right, with Beavis and Butthead proper, and I won't go for it now, but it's lovely that people are enjoying it now. Don't tell me what to do, says NMN 1J. I will not tell you what to do. I am telling you nothing. We're just talking. Who cares? Why do you think anyone gives a shit about your boring ramblings, says 333? Why do I think anyone gives a shit? Well, it's not necessarily that people give a shit. It's that people, first of all, you don't, it's not necessarily about giving a shit. It's like, let's hear what this bearded weirdo has to say, and then we'll see how we go with it, because I'm just here for the dialogue. I'm not telling people what to do or how to do it. So that's why. Also, I know that people are all up in arms about Israel, even though we are literally just a tiny, small country, and the Hebrew faith has, 15, 17 million people, Jews all around the world. For some reason, people want to know what is up with these Jews. And so I'm here to fill a niche in YouTube that is barely there, which is a proper Hebrew Nazarite. There are many Christians and followers of Jesus who take on similar vows, who call themselves Nazarites. I'm not gatekeeping. I'm just saying they're not proper Hebrew Nazarites because they are not part of the Hebrew tribes. Feel free to take whatever vow you want. It's still sacred speech, and you should still perform it and carry it out, no doubt. But the Hebrew Nazariteship is not well represented. It's underrepresented, so I am here to fill that niche. That's why I think people tune in. All right. I actually own a few animation cells from the movie, says Flippy. Ooh, which ones? It doesn't matter which ones. Good for you. That's really cool. Very, very cool. Is there a prime minister or president of Israel? If so, who? Says Senan. Hey, nice to see you again, Senan. The prime minister is Benjamin Netanyahu, and the president is Isaac Herzog. Now, the prime minister is the one who is actually in charge. The presidency is more of a symbolic sort of position. So that's what it is. NM says there's nothing up with the Jews. Israel is just bullying and being overly aggressive. Dumb people are going to blame all Jews just like they blame all Muslims for 9/11. Okay, I don't know what you're saying with that. I know that there is an idea of defending oneself, right? We as a people have the right to self-determination and to exist as a nation. This has been corroborated historically by many, many nations, nothing to do with religion, or at least not out in the open, has to do with religion. So I'm fine with Muslims, I'm fine with Christians. I think we should all live side by side in peace and prosperity. That's it. LSP asks, is idol worship and pagan polytheism right? Jewish stance on it. So I'm not going to say things are right or wrong, right? The Jewish stance, according to Torah, is that it is not for the Hebrew people, meaning we have one Hebrew God, that is the God that we follow. We have no polytheism, we are not allowed to have any sort of other deity. And so there is no such thing as a multiplicity of deities. There is a multiplicity of revelations of one Hebrew God. That's what it is. Okay. This is the most Jewish-looking dude, says Cisco. Thanks, Cisco. I guess I take that, as a compliment. Bro, can you wash your hair for the next stream, says Dr. Pudding. I wash my hair regularly. So, I'm not sure what you mean. When did I last wash? It's Tuesday. I think I showered on Sunday and I washed my hair. Or Friday. I shampoo once every, week and a half. Something like that. Netanyahu has a warrant, says 420 Big Kush 7. Yes, Netanyahu has a warrant. Now, I don't think it's a proper warrant because it's only the international justice, whatever. I don't think it's actually... Look, if he committed crimes, and people say he definitely committed crimes, then he should be put to justice, right? He should be brought to justice, and that's that. But if the agenda is to arrest him and sort of prosecute him for war crimes just on the basis of what terrorist groups are saying, that I take issue with. Raze says, bro, lol. Yes, indeed, lol. So laugh out loud. It's good to laugh out loud. I'm not a fan of Seinfeld, says Matt Black. Oh, you know what? I understand those who are not fans of Seinfeld, but I definitely am. Can you do the greedy merchant hand thing, says Beta Boy. You betcha. Watch. Hey, I'm gonna get so much money. It's gonna be there, done. I hope that was okay. If you want me to do anything else and clip me, go for it. Cut your hair, says Ray's World. No, I don't think so. The Nazarite is not allowed to cut his or her hair. Hi from Ghana. I used to work for Israeli business in West Africa, says Wasua. Hey, hello to you in Ghana. How was your day, evening, or night? What time is it in Ghana? I'm curious. Why do Jewish people make good comedians, says Dubious Double Chin 6363? I think it's because when you go through so much horrors and persecution and annihilation, as you know, and wars as the Jews have over the course of history, it's like as a counterforce to that malevolent, evil, wicked existence, there is that humorous and funny existence, right? That comes as like a counter energy. I think that's why. Because in this life, with so much tragedy and woe happening everywhere all the time, even right now at this very moment, I'm sitting here, but there are many people going through horrible, horrible tragedies, even right now. And so you can either laugh or you can cry, right? What does, in Training Day, and I've mentioned this before, in Training Day, Hoyt, his name is Hoyt, right? Yes. He says it's all about, the streets are all about smiles and cries. And it's true. Like in this world, you either laugh or you cry. And there's a time to cry and there's a time to laugh. And I simply say there's more of a time to laugh than a time to cry. Or at least, basically. I mean, you know, it's not always there. But yeah. Hi, Jessica. Hello, cosplayer. Beyond says, oh, Mel Brooks. Taco, indeed, Mel Brooks. He's the man. Beyond says, did you know the IDF was formed by terrorist groups such as the Haganah Irgun? Of course I know. The thing is that they were fighting Muslim terrorists who were attacking them, and they were fighting the British that had the mandate. Okay? Now, once, and they were actually terrorist groups. Now, once the establishment of the State of Israel happened, those groups became illegal. An army was formed called the Israeli Defense Forces, and all of those became illegal. So those terrorist groups were indeed terrorist groups, and they were fighting even among themselves, right, about the different agenda or doctrine or way that they ought to follow. So yes, I actually am aware of that. I know some of the history of my own country, though I wouldn't say I know all the history, but I know plenty of it. Happy Black History Month, says Ku Klux Karen. That's nice. Why is it that there's a need in the States for Black History Month? I'm curious. I have no idea. I don't live there. Do you like goth chicks, says Beetlejuice? Well, let's put it this way. I've never been with a goth chick. I've never dated a goth chick. I married my first girlfriend. I met her at 16. We were married at 20. Now, she did go through a kind of phase when she was 16 or 17 where she was dressing more in black and had the black eyeliner, but she was never really goth. She had her reasons to be sad and depressed, I'll tell you, but I don't know if she was actually goth, maybe a little bit with the makeup and the clothing. So do I like goth chicks? I don't know. I liked my goth chick, and I still do. So yeah, do you like goth chicks, Beetlejuice? That's the actual, that's actually what's going on here, so tell me. There was no terrorism in the Middle East before Israel was there. King David Hotel, 1946. Are you kidding? You got to be kidding. Look up the Hebron massacre of 1920 or 1921. Look it up. Tell me then there was no terrorism. Come on. Learn more history. I'm trying to do it. Why don't you? That's the people of a light. What a horror, says D. Jamel Toms. No, I don't consider me to be a person of any sort of light. I'm trying to be a light for myself and maybe people around me, but definitely I'm not a person of the light. What does that even mean? As for being a horror, you ain't seen nothing yet. That's true. As a blackie, says Ganja, why don't we have White History Month? Yes, it's true. Why not have everything History Month? It's true. Goth chicks from Sweden, nice, says Joopy. Ziggy says, my goth girl I have been with for 32 years and I still love her. She's the mother of my 4 children. Hey, I've got 4 as well. And I love her. Yes, and I love mine as well. She is wonderful. She is wonderful. David asks, do Jews stick together, practice nepotism, and make money a priority? Well, look, money is not a priority. It's important, but it's not a priority, depending on who you ask. As for Jews sticking together, there is sticking together to some degree. People of the tribe, the in-group, the out-group, there are positives and negatives about it. The question is, right, where do you draw the line, right? Will you protect someone just by virtue of them being of the tribes, even if they are acting in an immoral and heinous and inhumane way? Or would you bring them to justice and give them, and give them to the authorities? So it really does depend on, I go on a case-by-case scenario, but by and large, yes, Jews stick together. As for nepotism, I guess some Jews do and some Jews don't. Nepotism is not something that is specific to Jewry and Judaism, so I have no idea what to say about that. But the whole tribal in-group, out-group thing, that is something that exists in every large group, right? So, Why do Jewish people have so many holidays in New York, says Mr. Dennis Byron? Well, the Jewish people have not so many holidays in New York, they have many holidays at large. The Jewish calendar, the Hebrew calendar, is filled with holidays that are from the Torah and holidays like Purim and Hanukkah, which were instituted after the Torah. And, we have different fast days, so one of jubilation and some of mourning. So a lot together. Except you have 4 kids and sit home, collect welfare, says Cavaceno. No, I don't. I have a full-time career. I have a full-time job as a writer. So you don't know what you're talking about. And I'm raising my kids on the money that my wife and I make with the labor. And, and we enjoy the fruit of our labor. So the only reason why I sit at home is because I can work from home. I was in the office. I left about an hour and a half ago, and I ran some errands in the center of town, and then I came home. So I was in the office today. That's why I'm wearing a sweater. Do you want a penny, says Ku Klux Klan? No, I don't want a penny. How shiny is it? That's the real question. If it's an exceptionally shiny penny, I might just go for it. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, melech haolam, she'akol niyeh midbaro. Now I know I broadcast every day almost. People say, get a job. Do you even have a job? Are you homeless? I'm not homeless. I've always had a wonderful home to come home to and to leave from. Thank God. And there have been times when I was unemployed for a few months here and there in my life, and I had minimum wage, dead-end, soul-sucking jobs as well. But for the past over 10 years, I've been working, and I developed a career for myself, which by the grace of God I have and continue to develop. It is not something I take for granted because I know what it's like to be in a soul-sucking, minimum wage, dead-end job. I know what it's like to be unemployed and have every job interview cause you stress and anxiety. And I know what it's like to feel like a failure. I know what it's like to feel like you're not actualizing your potential. I know what it's like to feel like you're a slave to the man. I know all of that. I've experienced it on my flesh. I have. So I'm very thankful that I have a job. I'm very thankful that it has blossomed into a career. I'm very thankful for everything that I have. And I think that people who do have kids and sit at home and collect welfare, unless they have a medical problem, should get off their asses and get a job. That's what I think. Having a job has always been very important to me. Working and earning my keep has always been very important to me. This does not mean that there are not exceptions to the rule. There are, for instance, the 10 people of leisure. The 10 people of leisure was in the towns and villages of old. They would designate 10 people, not 500,000, 10 people that they would give a stipend to, and they would sit in the synagogue, or they would sit in the Beis Midrash, right, in the place of learning, and they would sustain the ritualistic and spiritual needs of the community. They would be given a stipend in order to sit and learn Torah, in order to have a minyan, 10 men, right, in prayer at the very least, to facilitate different rituals throughout the year. And they were given that because people in Jewish communities knew, or still know, that there is merit to having a thriving spiritual community alongside the physical, material place and people. And so these people, 10 of them, were given a stipend by the community, not welfare from the state. The community would chip in and pay these people to be 10 men of leisure. That was their job. Asara batlanim. That's what they were there to do. Their job was no job. And if there was a spiritual, ritualistic need of some kind, they would be there to facilitate. If there was a prayer ongoing, they would be there to form the 10 group, what's called a minyan, the group of at least 10 men. And so it was an honorable position. And I think many times it was the elders that were given that, seeing as how physical labor is something that they couldn't always partake in or be part of. How long have you been growing your hair, says Jonathan. The hair has been growing for about 17 years or so, and I took my vow 15 years ago or so. So yeah. So thank God I don't receive welfare. Literally, I would not want to ever do that. This guy is gay, says Goldfish Disclosure. Yes, indeed, I'm gay, I'm lesbian, I'm straight, I'm bi, I'm a non-binary, and I'm a two-spirit pigeon. That's what I always say. You don't need no ritual or any other man to work for God. I agree, Cloves, I agree. And that is the mindset that I also am sort of into. However, I do realize that in the Hebrew faith and in the Hebrew tradition, it's the community. It's the community that makes the religious part of it, not the spiritual part of it necessarily, but the organized religion part of it. Now you can go against it and push back against it, by all means do, but there's always been a very big part for the community and the individual within a community, right? That's something that I kind of left behind. I don't have a community. I don't have a shul, right, a synagogue that I go to, and I'm paying a price for that. But I do believe that this is the way for me to go. So I agree that you hypothetically and practically, right, you don't need a ritual or another man to work for God. You need to go in the way of humility, peace, justice, and righteousness. And that will suffice. You need to work hard on yourself and cleanse yourself of your wrongdoings and stop yourself from transgressing and, right, going with humility. And that in itself is a great work. That in itself is a great, wonderful, amazing deal. But as for the community, there is obviously a part of that in the Hebrew faith and in Torah and in the commandments, because we have 613 commandments, and one person alone cannot do all of them, right? Because you're either a man or a woman. You're either a priest or a Levite or an Israelite. You're either a king or not. You're a prophet or not. You're a Nazarite or not. And each one of these have specific commandments that go along with that position or sex or gender, whatever it is. I can hear the kids in the basement. No, Rick Watts. Actually, the kids are not home. One or two of them are on the way home. It's almost 2 p.m. But right now, I'm home alone. I can shout. Ah! See? Nobody's here. Abdullah asks, what's the difference between the Tanakh and Torah? So the T of Tanakh is for Torah. Tanakh is Torah, Nevi'im, Ktuvim, Torah, prophets, writings. Is there a book of law you guys follow, like a scholarly tradition? So you guys is making a broad generalization, but the Orthodox Rabbinic Judaism follows the written Torah and the oral Torah. The oral Torah was supposed to remain oral. However, it was written down over the course of history because of necessity and exile. So it's basically the Mishnah and the Talmud, which form the basis text for deriving rabbinic law. Yes. At least trim and clean up, dude. Jesus fucking Christ, says 1 Minute Man 1. No, I don't think I will. I don't think I will, but I genuinely appreciate the offer or the advice or whatever it is that you consider it to be. You do not live in a Jewish community? Yes, I do. I'm simply not part of a community, but I live in Jerusalem. There are Jews everywhere. You can't swing a dead cat without, hitting a Jew. If not, why? I really enjoy you sharing your culture with us. Very cool, says Rob Shot iPod. Rob Shot iPod. Well, I live in a Jewish community by virtue of living in Jerusalem and in Israel. We are the majority. So it's a Jewish community, a big Jewish community here. However, I don't have a community that I'm a part of, a synagogue that I frequent and go to, because I chose to go my own path. But for many, many years, until my late 20s, I was part of a community and I was part of a shul that I went to 3 times a day. So, as for sharing my culture, I don't know what you mean precisely by sharing the culture, but I'm just sharing my views and opinions. And I try to keep them relatively balanced and open-minded. Yeah. Brandon says, our forefathers made vows on altars and kept them. What is your intent with no established altar? Isaiah 19, LOL, stop bucking the question, Judah. Okay? The intent is to live such a life that would later bring about the establishment of an altar and a new temple. But I don't think that we necessarily need the new temple and its altar. We can transcend that, right? Go back to Eden, a time when there was no priests. There were no altars. There was no sacrificial animal or, any such thing. So the vows that we make, it's the speech, right? Vows and oaths, which are 2 different things. They represent a sort of truth that you define for yourself. I will do this, I will not do that. I swear to this, I do not swear to that. This is false, this is true. So you don't need an altar. You are the sacrifice. You are the altar. You are the human being made in the image of God. It's only through the course, over the course of time and through the course of history that different physical, ritualistic elements had to be added. Okay. What is your opinion on the term goyim and the application of usury? Well, Frank, the term goyim is used pejoratively, but I don't dig that. The term goyim literally means nations. Israel is also a goy. Badawiya, hey, good to see you again. I thought Ashkenazi are mostly European, but you clearly look Semitic. Yes, look, there have been many, many people over the years, and converts, and genetic mixing with different people of different genetic material. So, yeah, I look fairly Semitic, but my ancestry hails from Judea. We were kicked out to Europe, then made the pilgrimage to the States, and then back to Israel over the course of hundreds and thousands, let's say, of years ago. So there you go. Beta Boy says, wow, there are a lot of hateful people here. Yeah, for sure, always, because whenever there is a Hebrew, there's hate that goes along with it. I hope they realize that arrogant, blind hatred towards Jewish people does not help highlight legitimate criticisms of them politically or religiously. Right, it actually does obscure all of that, because they make these blanket statements, these sweeping accusations and allegations based purely on ancestry or religion or geographical location, and it undermines the very thing that they seek to do. And it's a terrible way to make an argument. It's a terrible way to go about life in general, but definitely a horrible way to make a coherent argument. Because what are you saying, really? Oh, if you have this skin, you're evil. If you come from this place, you're evil. If you're this religion, you're evil. It's like, how about remembering the human? How about looking past all of your presuppositions and all of your views that you already came, right? Pre-packaged and pre-rolled? Nobody likes your cult, says FBA. Well, I'm not part of a cult, unless it's a one-man cult. And the Nazarite ship was never cultish. So I don't know what cult you mean. Jerry Cudd says, OMG, get over it. Jerry Cudd, I don't know who you're talking to. I'm trying to get over it. I'm trying to get under it. I'm trying to get alongside it. And I'm trying to transcend it. All of those things. All of those things. Do you see yourself as a victim? No, I don't see myself as a victim. Why do you ask? Do I make a victim? Do I make a case of being the victim? I don't think so. Maybe I am. Beyond says, lol. If you are serious, you will explain what happened to the Ethiopian women when they visited Israel a decade ago. I have no idea which Ethiopian women you talk about that came a decade ago. I know that when Ethiopian Jews did make Aliyah, right, when they did ascend to the land of Israel, they were given a very raw deal by the establishment and the government, right? The religious rabbinate establishment and the government. And if they would have put it to a vote, I would have voted against mistreating them. If they would have asked me, I would have said, don't mistreat them. However, alas, and this is partly why I haven't voted in about 20 years, I don't trust the government. I don't trust the establishment. I really, really don't. And I think that the Ethiopian Jews, many of them got a very raw deal, and they got mistreated by the government and by the establishment. And that's a horrible way to treat your fellow brothers and sisters. So I have no idea what you mean. I really don't. But tell me, what is it that happened a decade ago? Do you support Netanyahu? I literally just said I haven't voted in 20 years, so no, I do not. The philospheres. I do not support Netanyahu. The only reason why I might be voting in the next election is to get rid of him. I still don't know who I will vote for or what the platforms are. I'll see it I'll burn that bridge when I get to it. But I want to get rid of him. He's had enough time. He's had plenty of time on the throne. Shame all the haters on here, but I noticed many of them are very ignorant too. Probably almost everything, says Carol. Yes, look, I'm ignorant. There are many things that I don't know. That's in part why I do this. I learn from you good people, and it's wonderful to expand my mind and broaden my horizons, right? And sharpen my intellect, if you will. Small though it may be. Now, I'm ignorant of most things. There's more of what I don't know than what I do know. And I wouldn't presume to know something you don't, or be a wise man, or hold some great truth, or that's bullshit. What I have is just a phone, right? I'm just a simple dumbass in the Middle East with a phone and a cup of tea. That's it. That's all this is. and I'm just here to talk to people. I'm not here to teach, and I'm not here to preach. If people ask questions, I will address them, but that's pretty much where it begins and ends. Steak Fan Club says, anyone who votes is retarded. Yes, I kind of feel the same way personally, not about others, but about me. Because I believe that the people who you vote for are just puppets and that they are controlled, right? The people who you actually vote into office are not the ones calling the shots, are not the ones in control, and they are merely puppets, marionettes being pulled on strings by people who you did not vote for. And I didn't want to be part of that dirty, dirty game. But I might have to be. I might have to be next time. I really, really might. I don't know. I'm an infidel. Are you allowed to talk to me? Says Robin. I'm an infidel as well. Hey, let's get together. X the Royale asks, genuine question. Is the reason our Jewish brothers deny Muhammad have to do with him being a descendant of Ishmael instead of Isaac? And because Islam accepts Jesus, peace be upon all the prophets. I think the reason why Jews deny Muhammad is, well, look, I haven't read the Quran and I don't know Islam, so I can't give you a proper answer. I only know that the Quran showed up as the final revelation and a covenant and a testament that is the final revelation of the final prophet, and that goes against Torah. Because first of all, we have our Torah, that is our covenant. Second of all, we have our own prophets, and there is no final revelation, there is no final prophet, and so it goes in that way against the Torah. And I think that's why Muhammad was rejected, but I don't know the intricacies why it happened actually, right, in reality, because I don't know Islam and I haven't read the Quran. So I have no idea. You people tell me, you probably know better than I do. Why do Jews reject Islam? Why do Jews reject Quran? Why do Jews reject Muhammad as a prophet? Choose a religion that doesn't involve pedophilia, says Jared. Okay, what are you basing that on? The Hebrew faith involves pedophilia just from the onset? Philip says, do you see yourself as superior to the rest of us? Honest question. Look at me. Does it look like I think that I'm superior than anybody ever? If you need an answer, the answer is no, I don't. I don't go for that chosen people stuff. I think it reeks of greed, I was going to say greed. Not greed, maybe greed in some sense, but no, it's arrogance. Okay? It's pride, it's vanity, it reeks of it. It doesn't necessarily have to be those things, but it reeks of it, right? It's the dust of vanity, the shadow of pride and arrogance. So I don't go for that superiority. I think that Jewish supremacy is not a good look for the Jews. Not a good look. Definitely not. Now, some people have been oppressed and persecuted for such a long time that they had to have like a counterforce to what they were experiencing. But I, as the majority, a Jew in Jerusalem, by the grace of the Most High, I've never had to experience that. And so it has never been cultivated in me, that need for superiority, that need to show my might and my strength and to think that I'm better or put others down in order to get myself higher. Never have I ever had to do that, thankfully. So I don't do that. Why are you the most Jewish-looking man on earth, says Jesus is Lord. Am I? I have no idea. I definitely have the schnoz, but the rest of me, maybe, maybe not. Can you explain this verse from the Talmud? Zohar is not Talmud, so already it's false what you're saying, but okay. A Jew must always deceive Gentiles. Look, I actually have Sefer Zohar right here, but I'm not going to open it. Hold on a second. Let's see. I'm gonna Google it quickly. Let's see. Zohar. So what is it? 1,160. So it would be Taf Reish. 160 Kuf Ein? No, Kuf Samech. Hey, listen, no, I have no idea. It won't find it. Please, give me the Beyond Spacewalker. If I don't get it in the chat, please leave a comment. Incidentally, if I'm glossing over your chats, people who are wanting to insult me or call me names or tell me to shave, tell me to kill myself, call me a pedophile, ask a genuine question, say words of love and encouragement and embrace, whatever it is, if I don't get to it, I'm sorry, the chat is moving very rapidly. I obviously can't get to every single thing, but leave a comment. I answer every single comment that is addressed to me. If I miss you in the chat, please do leave a comment. Now, as for Zohar, Zohar is not Talmud. Talmud is where you derive rabbinic law from. Zohar specifically is where you do not derive rabbinic law from. So you could say that it's lore, you can say that it's teachings, you can say that it's Kabbalistic myth and legend, but what it is not is halacha. So even if Zohar says a Jew must always deceive Gentiles, which I don't believe it does, but let's just say that it does, it has never been made into halacha, and rabbinic law is not derived from the Zohar, and that's that. So that's the explanation without me knowing the proper passage. So is it Zohar or is it Talmud? Because it can't be both. Let's continue. Let's continue. You also don't seem to think you need to take a bath. That is false, 4259. I bathe and shower regularly. I love baths, but I have a shower here, and I haven't taken a proper bath. And I've said this before. I used to take such great baths in my old apartment. I would darken the room. I would light a candle. I would light incense. I would put music. Oh, it was so good. I would put bath bombs and essential oils, and I would just soak in the tub for like a good 30 minutes, breathing in the vapor and the steam. Oh, such bliss. I love a bath. I love baths. But now I only have showers. So contrary to what you may think, 44, I do bathe regularly, and that's that. Do you support the IDF, says JPEG Peg. Yes, I do. I am a former soldier of the IDF. I was discharged 5 years ago from the reserves, so I do support it. However, I don't support illegitimate, illegal things that are done on behalf, right, of Zionism and the IDF. I don't support inhumane, like atrocity-making and committing psychos who go against law of Tzahal and the doctrine of war that Tzahal goes by and the spirit that Tzahal keeps to. That I am against. Those people should rot in jail. So I support the IDF, but not blindly. No, you shower regularly, says David. Yes, I do shower regularly. That's true. I simply don't separate the locks. That's it. I shampoo regularly and I condition regularly. I shampoo once every week and a half. I mean, look, if I feel really dirty, I'll shampoo my hair then and there. But if not, and it's just a regular day, I'll shampoo every like 10 days to 2 weeks, and I'll condition once every 4 to 6 weeks, right, from the mid-lengths and down. That's it. Oh my God, Stand on Business has a huge garden tub. Good for you. Isn't a bath great? People say, oh, you're just stewing in your own filth. It's like, okay, tell you what. If you walk into a bath and you sit down and you soak, right, and you lie down in a bath and it becomes murky and muddy and dark and brown, yeah, you might want to pull the plug and refill it. And then, but if you go in there to bathe yourself and it doesn't turn black, you're good to go. Love from India, says Vinayak. Hey, and to you too. Much love. Much love. Okay, let's continue. Maybe he can't throw a bunch out there. Anything about Palestine? Ever think he's not in America? There may be heavier repercussions, says Carol. I guess you were reacting to someone? You're disgusting, says Jared. Yes, I am. You have no idea how disgusting I am. I am positively, horrifically disgusting. Thank you for noticing. Okay. You look like a Jew Marley, says Jay Dominguez. Well, the Rastafari base parts of their ways on the Hebrew Nazarite ship. They take a Nazarite vow. That's why we have locks. Let's continue. Where are you from, says Sean. I'm in Jerusalem. Where are you from, Sean McParland? How ironic, Muslims telling people to take baths, says Aaron Williams. Really? Is it something that Muslims don't do? The Muslims that I've known, and I know plenty here in Israel, they shower regularly, as far as I know. I never asked them, but they didn't really have bad hygiene, so I don't get it. We can see you are dirty, but I don't care that you are, says Apple Tree. Hey, good to see you again, Apple Tree. Willie Wallace Guy says, every religion believes their God is the true God. Well, I don't think that personally, but okay. Since Christians believe in the Trinity, why is it anti-Semitic for them to say Christ is king? No, I don't. Anti-Semitic? What is anti-Semitic about saying that Christ is king? Christ literally means anointed one. Kings were traditionally anointed with oil. So what you're saying makes zero sense. Now, it is not according to Torah to believe that God is fragmented. What fragments is the divine revelation. the divine emanation, the divine influence flowing into creation. Creation itself is divided, duality and so on, but not God, right? God is unthinkable, unknowable, untouchable, unfathomable, inconceivable. So we can't attribute oneness or fragment or anything fragmented to God. To the revelation of God, it fragments into many, many, many different things. I have no idea. Who the hell says that Christ as king is anti-Semitism? I think that they are foolish because kings were anointed with oil. Saying Christ as king means the anointed one is king. I really, really have no idea who would say that. But okay, if you say so, you tell me. You seem to know a lot more than I do. Please tell me what you think. You people haven't even read the New Testament or the Old Testament and you want to know about the Talmud, says Aital. Okay, yeah, I mean, maybe. People love to grab bits and pieces as a gotcha without actually knowing nuance or context. So, hey, good for them. If they're looking for a gotcha, I mean, again, they come with these presuppositions and they have no knowledge. No, I'm sorry. They don't have the actual desire for knowledge and discourse, right? And to broaden each other's minds and to engage in a true and honest dialogue on what it means to have faith, what it means to be spiritual, what it means to have religion or to develop oneself in a spiritual path. They simply come in order to spread hate and villainy, and that's it. That's pretty much all they do. Some of them, obviously. Only some of them. Cats are awesome, says Alfie. I agree, cats are awesome. Are you Jewish, says Real 5 Sound. Yes, I am. Hassan says, what does the Talmud say about the non-Jews? Genuine question. So let's put it this way. There are some rabbis in the Talmud that say terrible things about non-Jews, and again, that Jewish supremacy thing. But I don't think that way. B, in most cases, those ideas were not made into halacha, and I believe in treating oneself, treating others the way you would want to be treated, right? And the golden rule of love thy God, love thy neighbor, and to go about that. And what you hate, don't do unto your fellow. That is the entirety of the Torah, Hillel the sage said. The rest of it is commentary. Go and learn it. But the Talmud is where halacha is derived. And so since there are halachas that pertain to Jews and non-Jews and how Jews should act among non-Jews, then there are given parameters of discussion. And so we take an extreme to the left, an extreme to the right, and we make the argument in the middle. And halacha, which is derived from the Talmud and the Mishnah, is supposed to be something that allows the people, the masses, the mob, to follow the Torah and rabbinic law. So they had to bring parameters of discussion in order to reach a consensus in the middle. So all of these gotcha things from the Talmud, they mean absolutely jack shit when you think that, okay, it was one or two rabbis' opinions. B, it probably was not made into halacha. C, if it is written in halacha, it is usually as parameters of where halacha applies, just like the 3-year-old thing, right? People keep coming at you, oh, there's a pedophile, it's a pedophilic religion, and they allow sex with 3-year-olds. That is completely not true. Not at all. But in order to give context and parameters to halacha, they said, even a 3-year-old. That doesn't mean that the Torah sanctions or advises anyone to sleep with a 3-year-old. Not in the least. But people will use this and many other things in the Talmud, in the Mishnah, in the Torah, in the rest of the Bible against the Jews. Now, I'm not blind. Obviously, in the Talmud, there were rabbis and sages who said things that were controversial. The question is, what is it that actually comes into play in real life? Just because some rabbi, a sage, had an opinion 2,000 years ago, and just because they canonized it and put it in the codification of Hebrew law, which was never meant to be written down, by the way, doesn't mean that I need to take it as gospel truth. Oh, a super chat came in. Hang on a second. If we have 9 more in the next 11 minutes, I'll be wearing my giraffe onesie. Okay, let's continue. Wait, what? What happened? Oh, I'm sorry. Where is it? Where's the super chat? Hang on a second. There it is. Oh, Garfield gave £2. Thanks a lot, Garfield. Appreciate it. All the money goes to charity. I have not been paid yet. As soon as I am, it will all go to charity, and I will be in conversation with you as transparent as I can, how to give it, when to give it, where to give it. If you're Jewish, can you refuse to get circumcised, says Oscar. Well, most Jewish circumcision occur when the male baby is 8 days old and they can't talk, much less refuse or object. But that's part of the thing because it's something that is above rational thought. It's above consent or non-consent. It's something that is in your flesh, a covenant that is beyond choice and reason and logic. It's something you are born into and you make a part of your life. That's why it's done in 8 days, among other reasons, right? When the child is a little baby and cannot consent. Now, aesthetic reasons, medical reasons, all of that still applies. But the reason why what? The baby can't give consent? Exactly. He is born into it. He is born into it, and the covenant is made in his flesh on the 8th day, if medically viable. If not, they do it later, of course. If there's any danger to the baby, you do it later, like with me. But the people, when they walked through the desert on the way to the Holy Land and the land of Canaan, they were not circumcised, and they were only circumcised after they went through, after they passed the Jordan. What time is it there? It's 2:16 p.m. here in Jerusalem. 2:16. It's a cult, says FBA. Okay, feel free to say it's a cult. Nobody is asking you to join it. Really? 7 Macaw says, doesn't what you just said about the Talmud also apply to the Torah? Just some things that some sage wrote down thousands of years ago. No, the difference is, first of all, there's the opinion, and it's the basic Orthodox understanding, that alongside the written Talmud, alongside the written Torah, there came the oral traditions that remained oral until they were written down. Second of all, the Torah is not simply some things that some sage wrote down. De facto it is, but it's through Moses. The revelation that Moses had was a unique revelation once in creation. That's why he is known as the lawgiver. He is known as the great bridge, right, between Israel and the Most High God. Now wait, hold on a second. Why can't I see that super chat? Okay, there it is. Never news were heady out so Gentiles can be grafted in. I don't know what that means, Natalie. News were heady out so Gentiles can be grafted in. I'm sorry, can you explain what that means? Does anyone know what that means? I'm sorry, I'm ignorant. You'll have to dumb it down for me. I really have no idea what that means. Sorry. Okay. Let's continue. Wait, why can't I see the super... Why can't I see... Oh, there's the super chat here. Now I see it. Okay, cool. Why do we need to read the Talmud, says Boop. You don't need to read the Talmud. When Maimonides, right, Rambam, when he released his book, when he published his book, Mishneh Torah, Yad HaChazaka, he said, now all the halacha is right there. You don't need the Mishnah. You don't need the Talmud. What you need is the 5 books of Moses and my book. That's why he named it Mishneh Torah, meaning the second to Torah. That's why. And people got really up in arms with him about that. But that's why. Genuine question, says Proud American. Have you read Psalms 22? Yes, I have many times. And do you reject this prophecy being Jesus? Please read Psalm 22 aloud. All right, let's see. I will read Psalm 22. It's one of the short ones, right? From the JPS Tanakh. The JPS Tanakh. No, too long. It's too long. I can't read it aloud. There's, like hundreds of people here right now. I can't read it aloud. I'll give you the gist of it. The gist of it is that Psalms bespeak the physical and spiritual struggles and celebrations of the layman, of the everyday Joe, right? And there are prophecies there, but they don't necessarily pertain to one single individual. And even if we do say that they pertain to one single individual, just because somebody is fulfilling a prophecy does not make them a god. Me, I am fulfilling a prophecy right now. It's written in Zechariah that Jerusalem will be filled with children playing in the city, in the streets, and that old men and women will walk around with walking sticks and canes because they will be so ancient of days. This is literally happening right now. I am broadcasting to you live from Jerusalem, where there are kids. If I stick my head out of the window, there are kids and elderly people there on a regular basis. I am fulfilling a prophecy now, here. I'm not claiming any divinity outside of the image of God in which I'm created, and you are as well. And I'm not claiming that you should, just on the merit of me fulfilling a prophecy, say that I'm a son of God or I'm here to die for your sins or some shit. Not in the least. The Hebrew faith does not believe in a God incarnate. The Hebrew faith does not believe in a God in flesh. There has been no such revelation to the Hebrew people. We are warned and cautioned against it by Moses. Maybe other people got a revelation in flesh, not disputing that. All I'm saying is that we don't. It's not our tradition. As for prophecy, even if we grant the proposition and say that that prophecy specifically was about Jesus of Nazareth, right? Let's say that he was a great sage and made prophecies himself and fulfilled other prophecies from before. It still doesn't make him anything but a man who lived and died, right? A sage, a righteous man, a prophet, a king of the Jews, but then he died. And even if we say that he was resurrected 3 days later and ascended, it still doesn't make him God. We do not follow the dead. We do not follow the living dead. We walk in their footsteps. We do not follow them. Do you see the difference? So that's why it doesn't matter what you throw at me, right? Especially from the prophets or the writings, because we have the 5 books of Moses. So it doesn't matter how many prophecies Jesus fulfilled. He died. That's it. And the temple was burned shortly afterwards by Rome, which means that even if you say that he was the final Messiah supposed to bring redemption to the world, he failed. He failed, I'm sorry to say. He did not bring redemption to the world. Let's grant that proposition. He lived a righteous man. He was anointed as king. The Jews accepted his rule and his sovereignty, but then he died, and the temple was burned, and the Israelites were exiled. So what does that tell you? Was he the final Messiah or not? The Hebrew faith says no. The Hebrew texts say no. No matter how many prophecies he fulfills, he's still a dead man. No more, no less, according to the Hebrew faith. So there you go. That's what I have to say about that. But I do still think that there's a lot of wisdom in the gospel. Not faith for me, but wisdom, definitely. Crazy Cat Lady says, future is the field, right? The area of freedom, of human freedom. I cannot change yesterday, but I can change tomorrow by what I do today. She wrote that in Hebrew. העתיד הוא תחום החירות האנושית, כי אני לא יכול לשנות את אתמול, אבל אני יכול לשנות את מחר במה שאני עושה היום. That much is true. It's all about here and now. The Torah is a Torah for the people living here and now. The dead move on. They cannot fulfill commandments. They cannot live life. They cannot eat, they cannot love, they cannot see or speak or hear or touch or feel. They are beyond that. They have shed their mortal body and this mortal existence. We here, the lowest of the low, spiritually speaking, in this material world, cast out of Eden into a world of good and evil. We, only us, in this physical, material, earthly body, have the capacity to transcend and do benevolent things and live and laugh and love and eat, right? And give thanks to the Most High God. What does the Psalm say, right? The dead do not praise Yah, nor do those who go down to Duma, right? Who go to the grave. Your hair ain't blessed by God, says Mags. I never said it was blessed by God. The Nazariteship means that this hair represents a crown of separation. Nowhere does it say blessed by God. It says that the Nazarite man or woman who take on this vow set themselves apart. That's all that it says. When did I say that my hair is blessed? It's just dead keratin. It's dead. The root is alive. But all of this is just dead keratin. That's it, just dead protein, right? The hair is mostly dead. The root is alive and kicking. And it's just hair. And even if I wake up bald tomorrow for whatever reason, the Nazariteship and its vow is still on me. The hair is a great thing, right? And I attribute a lot of significance to it as far as my path is concerned. I've watched it grow alongside me, right? From within me, organically, as a crown of separation that I seek to take on, but I haven't yet, right? I'm not claiming to be better or more or higher or holier than thou in the least. Not in the least. This is an ideal. This is an ideal that I'm seeking and striving to integrate into my life. That's what the Nazariteship is. Okay. Hector says, the book of Isaiah says different. I have no idea what you're talking about, but the book of Isaiah is still a prophecy by a prophet, and it does not supersede the 5 books of Moses. There is a hierarchy, a very clear hierarchy of Torah, Nevi'im, Ktuvim, Tanakh. 5 books of Moses, spirit of prophecy, spirit of sacredness. Meaning, the Torah, the prophets, the writings, and the scrolls. That's the way it goes. Read more fiction like Israel, says ITSD. Okay, I probably should read more fiction. Could be. Could be. Let's continue. Dorito says they aren't listening. Who is not listening? I'm not sure who you're talking about, but okay. FBA says to be Hebrew doesn't mean to follow the Jewish religion. It's Hebrew Muslims. The Jewish religion is a cult, not a bloodline. I have no idea what you're talking about. The Hebrews are simply the 12 tribes of Israel, right? The God is called the God of the Hebrews. That's what this is. And the Jewish religion, as we know it today, right, Orthodox and conservative and Reform and Reconstructionist and so on, that's like the man-made part of it that was due to a lot of exile and destruction. But the spiritual element, the Hebrew element, going back to Adam and going back to Noah and going back primarily to Avram, even before he was Avraham, right? He was Avram, called Abram the Hebrew, Avram ha'ivri. It's been an hour. A quick aside to give you thanks, deeply, sincerely. Those watching now, those watching later, I deeply appreciate your time, your kind and gentle attention, the likes, the subs, the views, and the people telling me to kill myself, the people telling me to shave, the people telling me I smell, the people accusing me of war crimes and crimes against humanity, the people who ask genuine questions, the people who tell me to bathe. Did I mention that one? The people who ask, who want to engage, that is, in actual discourse, and the people who swipe up on their feed, what is that? And who swipe up quickly to avoid me. All good. I deeply appreciate your time and your kind attention. I don't take it for granted. You're taking time out of your busy day, your busy life, your busy night, whatever it is, whoever you are, wherever you are. Your views are appreciated. Your participation in the chat is appreciated. And it's lovely to do this now. Let's continue. A super chat came in. Bob Builder, nice to see you again. Hey, in Ezekiel 20, what does it mean when it says that God gave them commandments that are not good? Do you have the chapter and verse? Hang on a second. I'll try and find it. Hold on a second. No? Where is it? Do you have the verse? I don't want to go through the whole thing now and take up your your precious time. Does anyone have the verse? Okay, tell me if you have the verse, because I'm not sure what it is. Okay, wait, what verse? There you go. Okay. In the beginning, God said to let us make man in our own image. Who is he talking to if it's not the Son and the Holy Spirit? So it says Elohim. Elohim is a plurality. Elohim, it's not Eloha singular. It's Elohim plural. There is a duality in the divine revelation. So it's the divine speaking to the divine revelation, right? It's God speaking to himself. Creation is God telling himself a story. That's what it is. So that's what it is. Are you the second coming, says Bryce. No, I'm not the second coming, first coming, third coming. I'm not any kind of come. Let's make it that clear. Okay, so what verse? What's the verse? Aaron says, I am a Jew, a real Jew, unlike you. Really? Why in Israel when the Messiah still hasn't arrived, says Aaron Williams. Well, I go with the dry bones. You might go with the 3 oaths. The 3 oaths claim that you need to have the spiritual element before you partake, right, and go back to the physical land. But I go with the dry bones that says you first build up a physical vessel, and then the spirit is called to dwell within it. And this faulty, insufficient, plenty of shortcomings state of Israel in its modern incarnation, right, even though it is based a lot on socialist secular ideas, it still has a nugget of truth and righteousness and faith to it. And it still is our ancestral home as Jews, right, who came from Judah, the kingdom of Judah and Judea and this region, which means that the Messiah has not arrived, but that's irrelevant because you can go with the dry bones. You build up the physical, right? If you build it, he will come. That's what I'm going with. As for being a real Jew, and I'm not a real Jew, I could not give any less of a crap if you think I'm real, if I'm fake, if I'm a convert, if I'm not. I really, really don't care. But you feel free to judge as much as you want if it makes you feel good about yourself. This passage has been hard for me. Okay, there it is. 25 to 27. I will read those now, the JPS version. Okay. Wherefore I gave them also statutes that were not good, and ordinances whereby they should not live, and I polluted them in their own gifts. And in that they set apart all that openeth the womb, that I might destroy them, to the end that they might know I am the Lord. Therefore, Son of Man, speak unto the house of Israel, and say unto them, Thus saith the Lord God, In this moreover have your fathers blasphemed me, in that they dealt treacherously with me. Okay, this idea of evil, right, and the freedom of will and the freedom of choice, okay? When Ramak speaks of this in his book Pardes Rimonim, he says this, and I gave this analogy a while ago, food, okay? When you eat food, it is something that is completely edible. What you put in your mouth is 100% edible. However, once it actually comes into being and goes through the process of digestion, then it separates into good and evil, meaning what gives your body sustenance and nourishment and strength, and what is pushed aside as feces and urine that you expel from your body, or gases that you expel from your body. And the question is asked, how can it be that evil exists in the world if God is the origin? It's because, and in this I'm answering your question, that God brought about evil into the world, and these commandments that are bad, right, and these things that are not good, for us to choose, to have proper choice, and for the ability for us to stand on our own 2 feet, just like a father and mother let their child, when he's learning to walk, they let him fall, because he needs to learn to stabilize himself. Will they let him fall into a fire? No. Will they let him fall from a high place? No. But they will let him fall on a mat. They will let him fall somewhere where it's still secure, in order for him to learn to stabilize himself. If they keep holding his hand and walking with him, he won't learn. He needs to do it by himself. He needs to fall. And you could say, what? The father and mother are wicked. How can they let their baby, their little toddler, fall down? It's like, yes, that's education. That is you teaching your son or daughter how to walk by not getting involved, by letting them fail, by letting them fall. You're letting evil things happen to them. Occasionally they will bonk their head and they'll cry, but they will learn and they will be better for the experience. That doesn't mean then you need to let them get hurt. You see what I'm saying? So, the commandments that were given were for Israel not to follow those, right? The ordinances were given so Israel will say, I do not want to go in those paths of evil and malevolence. I want to choose righteousness. I want to choose honesty. I want to choose humility. I do not want to choose blasphemy. I want to make the right choice. The reason is that we were given freedom of choice. But if all we have is goodness, that's no choice at all. And so evil comes into the world of good and evil here, just like food that in its origin is right and proper and clean, 100% edible, we see. Right? When you're eating, you're not eating urine and feces. By the time it reaches here, it becomes urine and feces. And it separates from the good and the bad that was within it. So when you eat a sandwich, you eat the whole thing, and yet it still separates into good and bad. Do you see what I'm saying? So if that passage is hard for you, and I definitely understand why it would be, it's there primarily for the freedom of choice of the individual and the collective. The Midnight Gardener says, who was Maimonides? Maimonides lived in the, was it 11th or 12th century? Rabbi Moshe ben Maimon, also known as Maimonides or Rambam. He was a physician, he was a scholar, he was a philosopher, he was a sage, he was a halachic ruler, and he wrote many books, right? He wrote the Way of the Perplexed, and he wrote the Mishneh Torah, Yad Chazakah. He wrote much commentary, answered many halachic questions. He was a great thinker. He was very Aristotelian in his thinking. And he admired Aristotle a great deal. That's Maimonides, that's a little bit of who Maimonides was. Let's continue in the chat. I'm loving this. I'm loving this so much. This is so much fun. Okay, let's continue. He said, good created evil so humans can have freedom of choice, says Constitution. Yes, among other things, right? For us to truly be human and to manifest the image of God in which we were created, we need to fully choose, okay? Because we are now in a world of good and evil. In the very same way, look, in Eden, in the account of creation in Genesis, evil was external. Evil was outside of us. It only later came into our life and into our being and into reality when we were cast out of Eden. The choice primarily in Eden, right, was A, not to eat from the fruit of knowledge of good and evil, right? And B, once that happened, to take responsibility. But that's not what happened. First, they ate from the fruit, and then they pointed fingers of blame at others instead of repenting and saying, yes, I'm human, I screwed up, forgive me, let's give it another go, I'll do better this time. Instead, it was the woman, no, it was the serpent. Nobody took accountability for anything. And so all of them were cursed. So, yes, the evil that is in the world is there also for choice. It's part and parcel of living in a world of good and evil, right? And I'm not saying that, look, well, no, let's leave it at that. I think I said what I had to say, like in a nutshell. That's pretty much it. What is your favorite Kanye West song, says Moin Said. I don't know Kanye West so much. The only song of his that I know is Gold Digger. That's the only Kanye West song that I know, that I consciously am aware is Kanye, so I'm going to say Kanye West. However, I know people say he's a genius musician and a real force to be reckoned with, a tour de force of music, but I don't listen to Kanye, and I have no idea of any other song of his at all. So forgive me, I'm ignorant in the ways of the West, and I only know Gold Digger. That's it. That's all I know. So I guess that's my favorite one, being that it's the only one. Natalie said that she sent another super chat. Oh, okay, hold on a second. Oh, Jews were grafted out, so Gentiles can be grafted in? Grafted in and out of what? I don't understand. I really don't understand what you mean, Natalie. What does that mean? Hang on, can I reply to this now, or the time passed? No, it passed. But I don't know, what does it mean to be, you know what, let's Google this for a second. What does it mean to be grafted out? Hang on a second. Grafted in meaning. Googling this right now. Grafted in, from Romans 11:17, so it's a New Testament idea, a biblical metaphor where Gentile believers are spiritually joined to the olive tree of Israel, covenant, promises becoming part of God through faith in Jesus. Oh, okay, so that gives me some context. Okay, Jews were grafted out, so Gentiles can be grafted in. Okay, so you're of the opinion, like many Christians and followers of Jesus, that the covenant between God and the Hebrew people is no more. The problem is that, hey, far be it from me to say you're wrong. Feel free to say that. Feel free to go with it, and the Jews are no more. The covenant is no more. It's been fulfilled, or it's null and void because of faith in Jesus and all that. Cool. The Hebrew faith persists. The Hebrew covenant exists. Even if we turn from God, even if we transgress, even if we break the covenant stands strong, waiting for us to get back to it. That's what the Torah says, right? That's biblical Zionism. You get to the land. You transgress, you'll be kicked out of the land, and then you will come back to the land. That's what it says. Right? And again, there's the question of, do we go back to God and then to land, or we go back to land and then to God? And there's evidence and sources for both of those ways of thinking. There is. And both of them are valid. Why is your English accent so American, LOL, says Patel? Because my parents are American, and I'm an American born abroad. That is why I have an American accent, more or less. Champ Morley says, how do you live with yourself, knowing all your rabbi around the world participate in children's slavery and drinking their blood? You think I know this for a fact, that Jews and rabbis practice slavery and blood drinking? First of all, slavery is no longer practiced in the Hebrew world. Second of all, blood is not allowed according to Torah. Again and again and again, we are commanded not to drink blood. So, sorry, that's false. Do you also enjoy Metzitza B'Peh? Enjoy it? No, I've never circumcised, I didn't circumcise my kids, and the Moel that circumcised my children did not do it with the mouth, but through a sterile single-use apparatus, and not with the actual mouth. It's more medically professional and more healthy to do it that way. You are worshiping Baal. Yes, please tell me, how am I worshiping Baal, and which Baal? There are so many different types of Baal. I would love to know which one I'm worshiping. You seem to know a lot more than I do. God King says, I know a guy who was going to get married to lovely, gorgeous, Jewish WK. I don't know what WK is. How long you been listening to Pac, says Mike. You know, I did enjoy Tupac in the 90s, and I don't know, I listened to a few, the singles definitely, and maybe the record, was it All Eyes on Me? Was that his? I don't recall. And I love What You Won't Do for Love. You tried everything. It's a good song. Very good song. What that room smell like? Jay Flores asks. Well, it smells like tea because I have forest fruit black tea. And I haven't been farting right now, so it doesn't smell like fart. And is the window open? Yeah, and we have an open window, so there's a real neutral, sort of ambivalent sort of scent. Not, I can't really place it. But if I fart, like a good one, a stinky one, I'll let you know. I'll stink up the room later. What Judaism says about Illuminati, asks Habib. I have no idea what Judaism says about Illuminati. I don't know anything about the Illuminati. If you give me sort of what they're about and what their tenets are, I'll be able to kind of maybe address it and tell you what I think the Jews would say about it, but I have no idea. I really don't. Ooh, pardon me. Do you see, guys, how he disregards the fact that he accepts the rabbis are actually doing this around the world? Hey, Champ Morley, give me evidence. Give me sources, credible sources. If not in the chat, because I might miss it, leave a comment. Give me actual sources to child slavery and blood drinking, and then I will address it coherently. You making some sweeping statement and allegation that we drink blood, which is against the Torah, and child slavery, which is no longer practiced and not encouraged by the Torah, it really doesn't sit right with what I'm trying to say here and now. I might be wrong. Show me, challenge me, fact check me, push back against what I'm saying with actual facts and credible sources. Then we can have a discussion. Then we can have a back and forth. Then we can have a dialogue. Until then, it's just you blah, blah, blying. And that's it. And I can't address it without properly knowing what you're talking about. Am Yisrael Chai, says Dorito. It's true. So it was okay at one point, says Connor. Yes, slavery is not, the Torah does not encourage slavery. The Torah says, if you do have a slave, here is how to treat them. There's a difference between the Gentile slave, right, a slave of the nations, and a Hebrew slave, a handmaid of the nations, and a Hebrew handmaid, and child slaves. It did exist, but the halachas for child slavery, again, it does not condone it or say that it's a positive thing. It says that was around, that was what they were doing at the time, the entire world. And to some degree, even the world now, some places have slaves, unfortunately. But the Hebrew faith does not encourage slavery in the least. It simply says, if you're gonna have slaves, here are the laws, here are the rules, here are the halachas. So it's not a question of it being okay. The Torah is about freedom. The Torah is about real, true freedom. And if you have a human master, you are not free, right? And the Torah wants you to be free, which is why even a slave or a handmaid that said, I want to be a slave forever, once the 50th year, the Jubilee, as part of the calendar, not their 50th year of being a slave necessarily, as part of the Hebrew calendar, when the Jubilee hit, it could have been a year from then, or 7 years, or 25 years from then, whenever. When the 50th Jubilee year came, they were immediately released. And part of what the prophets, part of the social injustice that went on during the time of Isaiah and Jeremiah was that people were releasing their slaves and then bringing them back, or people were not releasing them to begin with. And that is a horrible transgression against their freedom. And that's part of why Isaiah was really against this, and he was totally for the social justice, let's say. Natalie said this is not a curse on Israel, but a temporary blindness, so that Gentiles will be among those that are saved. God does not reject his people, but has expanded his mercy for all. The goal is love and understanding for all nations. Okay, that I'm willing to go with. And look, there's absolutely no argument when the Christians and the Muslims, they are billions of people, they accept the fact that the Hebrew faith existed and that the Hebrew covenant existed. They may say that it's dead and gone. They may have a problem with the Hebrews being Hebrew now, whether it's abroad or whether it's in the state of Israel or whatever. But they do agree that at some point there was a covenant between God and Israel, and that the monotheistic Hebrew God is also their God. I mean, the Christians add Jesus as God. That goes against Torah. The Muslims do not. That's a separate issue, I suppose. But the mere fact that you're saying that it's not a question of the Jews going bye-bye, but of just including others in this idea of one God and love and understanding, that I can go with. And I will say, okay, so it pertains to the nations, but not to the Hebrew faith and not to the Hebrew people. So Christians, followers of Jesus, by all means, speak and spread the news and spread the good word and spread the gospel to the other nations and let the Hebrews be. Wasn't Jesus a Hebrew man? Okay. Rewind says, what do you think about the Bible saying Jews will turn away from God right before the second coming? I have no idea what second coming you're talking about. The Bible says that Jews will turn away, or that there is a potential danger of Jews turning away, just because we are human beings. We have pride, we have vanity, we have arrogance, and we are full of ourselves. We have a very, very mighty ego. We are stiff-necked. Our heart is not yet circumcised, right? So to speak. Or there is the potential, let's say, of that being the case. And as such, the Torah, Moses, and the prophets, they are saying, pay attention to what you're doing in all of your abundance. Don't forget Adonai. Do not forget the covenant. Humble yourselves. Don't build yourselves up and say, it's my strength and my might that has brought me all of this. Don't be prideful. Don't be vain. Don't be arrogant. Be humble. Sit down. So, what do I think of the Bible saying it? The Bible is saying that as a precaution and a viable idea of what will happen if the Jews go astray and forsake their covenant and go with the ways of their hearts and their minds and their ears and their, and their eyes of, hey, you know what, screw God, I'm going to do my own thing. No. As for the second coming, you're assuming that there was a first coming. But I'm assuming you're talking there about Jesus. I don't follow Jesus. I think he's just a dead Hebrew man, no more, no less. So I have no idea if you're talking about the Hebrew Bible or the Christian Bible. And yes, transgression and going against the covenant and going against God is part and parcel of being a human being if you go that way. But that is why these biblical prophecies, writings, and scrolls were canonized and compiled, because there was no commandment to write down the prophecies and put them in a book. There was no commandment necessarily to write down the scrolls and the writings. No, they did it because it has to do with things that matter and are significant for generations to come. That's why the sages did this. Otherwise, the oral traditions would remain oral, and the 5 books of Moses would remain written, and no other thing would be written down. Not the Mishnah, not the Talmud, not the prophets, not the writings, not the scrolls, none of it. But it was, because it has significance. It has merit, not only to the people who lived back then, but us in the here and now. And I pick and choose everything, like I say. I'm a cherry picker and I make no apologies. So I don't know which Bible you're talking about, Rewind, and I'm not sure what you mean. But it was there because it's a viable danger to the Hebrew people. That's why. Just like it says the same thing in the Torah. Same reason. Cut your hair, says Gazdi. No, I don't think so, but I thank you very, very much. It's Me says, what if you want to keep the Sabbath, but you have to work on Friday and Saturday? Says It's Me. Look, I grew up, in Israel, in Jerusalem. I never had to deal with these conflicts of what to do and about Friday and about Shabbos. I have no idea. If you're Jewish, ask your local rabbi, because I'm not a rabbi, I'm not a scholar, I'm not a sage, I'm not a halachic ruler. Ask someone who is. That's what I would say. Because we're talking about, look, the Sabbath is a wonderful covenant, an amazing covenant. But, there is oh wait, I'm sorry, is the goal still going? Did I do it? Oh, yes, the goal, oh no, it ended. Sorry, it ended. You know what? I can start another goal. Should I start another goal? We'll see. People, give me ideas for a goal I can have. I'm going to be on for about 40 or 30 minutes, and then I need to stop and go get the kids, pick them up, but I'm still here right now. So as for cut your hair, sorry, Ghazni, I'm a Nazarite. Nazarites do not cut their hair. Let's continue. Why is your hair like that? Well, I just answered, because I'm a Nazarite, and Nazarites let their hair grow wild. Yeshua says, can you educate me on the Nazarite? I'm not an educator. I can tell you about it. In the book of Numbers, chapter 6, the Hebrew man and woman are commanded. Those of us who want to be Nazarites, here is how you do it. right? You basically abstain from cutting the hair, you let it grow wild. You abstain from the fruit of the grapevine, vinegar of wine, balsamic vinegar, white wine, red wine, vinegar. You can have vinegar of other things like grains, but not from grapes. And you may not be defiled by a dead body. However, I am a Samson Nazarite, after the Nazarite that Samson was in the book of Judges. So there are 4 different types of Nazarites. There's a Samson Nazarite that is for life, and you cannot annul or break the vow. There is a Nazarite for a set period of time, 30 days onward, at the end of which you bring offerings. If there's no temple, it just keeps going until the temple is around. There is a Nazarite for life, which is a person, let's say me right now, and I decide I want to be a Nazarite for life from now until the grave. You're allowed to cut your hair once every 12 months, or some say once a month, depending on which halachic ruler you go by. And there's a lifelong Nazarite, which is a Nazarite who was made a Nazarite as a child by their mother and father. When they reach bar or bat mitzvah and they come of age, they can then choose to either stop the vow and fulfill it and bring the offerings, or carry it on for life. Those are the 4 types of Nazarites in existence. But the only one that can actually be done right now without any kind of problematic issues is the Samson Nazariteship, because you don't need to worry about defilement of death, because there is no defilement of death for the Samson Nazarite, and it's for life from the onset, so there are no offerings to bring. So you cannot break this vow, and it cannot be broken. That is the loveliness of the Samson Nazarite vow. That is also why I took it, and part of the reason why I took it is because at the time I was a field medic in the reserves. I did my mandatory service, I did the medics course, and in the reserves I was a field medic, which means that there was a chance that I would come face to face with a dead body. So I didn't want to sort of contradict what I'm doing, so I also wanted it to be for life, and so I took on a Samson Nazarite vow. That is the nutshell of the Nazariteship. But the Nazariteship is look, every Nazarite I spoke with had their own reasons for doing it. There is no reason specified in the Torah. This is why you ought to do it. Not a thing. No, it simply says if you're going to do it, here's how. So if you want to be truly educated as a Nazarite, I say convert and be a Nazarite. That's what I say. But it's not for everybody. If you're called to the Nazariteship, follow the calling. Why do you all dress the same, says Habib? What are you talking about? Who dresses the same? Seriously, who dresses the same? There is the Haredi ultra-Orthodox, as they are known, who dress a little bit the same, but no. They see it as a kind of uniform. Let's put it that way. A Muslim asking why Jews all dress the same is pretty ironic, says Seven Macaw. Yeah, maybe. Was Jesus killed because of Deuteronomy 13? I'm sorry, man, you'll have to bring the verse as well. I don't want to go through the entire chapter. First of all, Jesus was killed by the Romans, not the Sanhedrin. He was brought before the Sanhedrin, and they did not find him guilty of a crime punishable by death. He was not executed. There is no execution by crucifixion in the Hebrew faith. In the Hebrew faith, we have four different ways to execute people depending on the severity and type of their transgression, and a Sanhedrin that executed a person once every 7 or 70, some say, years was considered lethal, unwanted, undesired, right? So despite the, this person should die, that person should die, that is very prevalent in the 5 books of Moses, it barely ever happened. Sanhedrin would do everything in their power and in their authority to keep from killing people and executing them in the Hebrew court system. Now, crucifixion is not one of the 4 ways in which people were put to death. He was not put to death by the Sanhedrin. The Sanhedrin did not find him guilty, and the Sanhedrin did not put him to death. So if you want to ask, was Jesus killed because of Deuteronomy? No. Jesus was killed because the Romans killed him. Now, you can say that the Jews should have chosen him instead of the thief, right, to free him on the day of Passover. Maybe. Could be. Likely. But they didn't, and I don't know why. I wasn't there at the time. Crazy Cat Lady says, against stupidity, God himself is helpless. Against stupidity, God himself is helpless. I never underestimate the power of stupid people in large groups. The real Jews are black, says Cordell Baker. Yes, this whole real Jews, fake Jews business, if you consider somebody's merit by the skin that they have and the content of melanin in it, you are, sorry to say, a fool. What about meritocracy? What about deciding somebody can be part of a faith or a tribe or a religion or in a significant way? without them being white or black or yellow or pink. What is it that people have with the content of melanin in a person's skin? It is so asinine, in my opinion, to make all these presuppositions based on skin color, for crying out loud. It's so stupid, it boggles my mind. Now, I'm saying this from the comfort of my own, I'm standing on the shoulders of giants, of course. But it's still a valid claim of how on earth can people still think like this? Oh, you have a skin color that has less melanin in it? You're not a real Jew. That is such horse shit. I can't even begin, and I'm sorry, Cordell. I'm sorry, I don't mean to judge, but I read that and I just go, holy crap. It's really asinine to think that a way of life, of faith, of Torah and commandments corresponds to skin color, especially when anybody of any skin color can convert. So what is this real Jew business? Even if I converted this morning, let's say I lived my entire life as a Polish Catholic in Europe, and I converted this morning. I went to the Beis Din, to the Hebrew court, and I converted, and let's say I wasn't circumcised. They circumcised me. I'm in great pain right now. I'm amazed that I'm even doing this. And I was immersed in the mikveh, the ritual pool. I said the blessings. I exited the pool, and I am a Hebrew man, part of the tribes, 100%. So what is this real Jew, fake Jew business, and how on earth does it correspond to skin color? Can somebody tell me this? Can someone justify it? Explain it to me. I'm ignorant, I'm dumb. Explain it to me like I'm 5. How on earth does skin color have to do, what does it have to do with the way that I worship God in this world? It is so asinine. Okay. It's just fools trying to take your culture, says Dorito. Maybe, but what does it even, let's say that they're trying to take the culture. I mean, that's what you're basing it on, really? Skin color. That's your argument. What? That's not what I meant, says Crazy Cat Lady. Stupidity is so mighty and I even, no, I got what you said. I was adding my own 2 cents, based on that phrase. Stupidity is so mighty, not even God can make it go away. Yes, this is true. Stupidity is just part of the human being. Are you a Messianic Jew? No, I am not, SFH. I am not a Messianic Jew. I think that Jesus is dead, no second coming. That's it. And he's not God or Son of God or anything else of the sort. Zunar said hi. Hi, Zunar. Good to see you, my man or woman. Jimmy Cracked Corn says, because they don't believe in Christ or crosses, it's against the law to preach Christianity there to anyone under 18. I'm not sure what you mean. I mean, obviously you're talking to someone else and not to me, but okay. Habib says, do you believe Abrahamic religion believe in the same God and the revelation is from the same God? I'm inclined to say yes. The problem is that Christians made God out of a man, and that goes against the Torah. As far as I know, Islam does not make God out of a man. Baha'is as well, I don't think they make God into a man. Rastas as well, they made God, right? They say that the second coming of Jesus is Rastafari, His Imperial Majesty, So that's also against the Torah. Hang on a second. Right. So Rastafari was his name before he was crowned. After he was crowned, he became Haile Selassie. Rastafari means Rosh Tiferet, the head of beauty. And Haile Selassie means Chayil HaShlosha, the might of the Trinity. And they believe, some people believed, Rastafarians believed him to be the second coming. XL says, would you say Christianity is a misinformed copy of Judaism? I don't know Christianity, so I would not venture to say anything about it. I have no idea what Christianity is or isn't. I do know that they made God into a man, and that goes against the Torah. That's all I know. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So, misinformed? No. I think they were very, very much informed by people who wanted to spread the word, which is why when I read my first and only reading of the New Testament, I loved the gospel, but I disliked everything else because I saw it go against the Torah. Right? The letters and the Acts and Revelation, they all go against the Torah in one way or another. Some of them a lot, some of them a little. but there isn't really something fundamental in my faulty understanding, like by and large. I'm making a broad generalization now about gospel and saying that in the gospel there were some things that I loved there, and that there's a lot of wisdom there that you can take, not faith for me, but wisdom. So I would not say anything about Christianity other than that I know that they believe that Christ is not just king, not just a sage, not just a prophet, but an actual God in the flesh. And that I take issue with as a Hebrew man. That's it. That's why I'm not a Christian. And I always say in this context, it could be that if I was around at the time, I would have followed Jesus too. And I would have been happy to call him a master. I would have been happy to call him my rabbi. But he's dead and I'm alive and he's not coming back. Now, he may very well be resurrected with the rest of us when we partake of the fruit of the tree of life, but no. I also don't think that he's burning in a pit of boiling excrement like it says in the Talmud. Are you more Semite than me and Iraqi? Reed Drago asks. No, I don't think so. I think that the sons of Shem, the Semites, are many and varied. So you come from what used to be Mesopotamia, and I come from what used to be Canaan, but we were both kind of part of the same region of the Middle East. You're, on that part of the river, and I'm on this side of the river. Natalie Reed says, read Matthew 25, 30, 40. People, it's lovely that you want me to read things, but there are hundreds of people here in the chat that may not want to just hear me recite verses. That's not what this is about. This is about having a discussion. God and the devil are within. Self-observation is God, says Sean. I'm inclined to agree that the divine revelation and the adversary are indeed within, right? They are within and they are without. They are part of the natural world, right? Divine revelation comes into being in the forces of nature and the laws of nature. The adversarial element, let's say, is also embodied in the forces of nature, like the sea. Sometimes it's calm, and sometimes it's rough and stormy. And nobody ever would make the claim that they can tame the sea. Nobody can do it. In the very same way, you cannot tame nature. You cannot, at least not for a long period of time. Right? Because it's a thing. It's a thing that exists in reality. But God and the devil are within. Yes, there's the revelation of an adversarial element, and there's the revelation of the element of order and of chaos inside of us. Matthew 25, 30, 40. Look, I don't... To read 10 verses is too much. It's too much. But you know what? I see they're short. So with your permission, I will read them. Matthew 25, 30, 40, New International Version, 30 and onward. And throw that worthless servant outside into the darkness where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. When the Son of Man comes in his glory, and all the angels with him, he will sit on his glorious throne. All the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate the people one from another as the shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. He will put the sheep on his right and the goats on his left. Then the king will say to those on his right, Come, you who are blessed by my Father, take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me. Then the righteous will answer him, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go to visit you? The king will reply, Truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. Lovely. Treat other people the way you would want to be treated. And when you treat even a lowly individual as somebody worthy of attention, of mercy, of compassion, of humanity, then it's like you're doing it, right, on this great global level. There's a Rav Kook. Rav Kook says, right, anything that a person does to elevate him or herself, the world is elevated alongside them. Right? Kol ma she'ha'adam mitgadel, mitgadel ha'olam kulo imo. Whenever you elevate yourself in some even small way, the world is elevated with you. You elevate the world with you. So yes, that was a wonderful 10 verses. I'm happy I read them. I hope that you were here for that, but if not, then not. XL says, are Christians worshiping the top three aspects of God as seen through the Kabbalah? The Father as the crown, Jesus as wisdom, and Holy Spirit as understanding. If so, is that also idolatry? Well, first of all, it's not... I don't know what Christians are worshiping or not worshiping. I don't know Christianity, right? I don't know. But if you're saying that Father is crown, that essentially goes against the 10 Sfirot themselves. We have a Sfirah called Father, Abba, Chochmah, right? We have Keter Chochmah Bina, which you said is crown, wisdom, understanding. That is crown, father, mother. So even if you say that Father is the crown, that goes against the idea of the crown, because it's not crown that is the Father, it is wisdom, Chochmah, that is the Father. So that would be a wrong way to going about it from the onset. Also, as far as I know, people who worship God, they worship the Trinity, and they say that God is actually the Father, actually the Son, actually Holy Ghost or Holy Spirit. The Sfirot are not God. The Sfirot are revelations of God, emanations of God, garments and clothing in which God is revealed in the world. Just like I right now am revealed through this body, through this hair, through this sweater, through this beard. But that's not my essence. This is an externalization of my inner self, to the degree that I have done that, right? The clothes make the man to some degree, as does the hair, as does the beard, as does speech, as does conduct. It's all a reflection of something that exists within me. And yet none of you out there on your screens can say that the ones and the zeros that you're seeing now come into being live from Jerusalem on your screen is truly the very essence of who I am. I reveal myself to you here. But do you actually know the essence? No. You know what is revealed to you, okay? You know what is revealed to you through what I'm doing right now. And I, honestly, as an aside, this is not some persona. This is literally, actually how I speak and how I am, roughly speaking. So, I don't know what Christians are worshiping or not. There's a great difference of opinion and controversy on what the Trinity is. Catholics and Protestants and others, the Trinity is this, the Trinity is that. I'm a Hebrew man, I know nothing about the Trinity. But even from what you said, Keter Chochmah Bina do not correspond to Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, or Father, Jesus, Holy Spirit, as you said. And XL, even if we say that it is, they actually worship those not as attributes, not as garments, not as clothing. They actually worship them as part of the Almighty God, Him, her, itself. That's why it goes against the Torah. And in that sense, it is idolatry if that is indeed what they're saying. If they are saying, no, this is simply how God is revealed in the world, that's closer to what the 10 Sfirot are. Dragon says, is Islam the fulfillment of Daniel prophecy of the stone that destroys the statue by destroying the Persian and finally Roman Empire? I don't know. This idea of the kingdoms, right, rising and falling. People say it was Babylon and Persia and Edom and maybe the kingdom of Ishmael. But people do associate the kingdom and the man Ishmael, right, with modern day Arabia and modern day Islam. That much is true. But I don't know enough about the Roman Empire, Islam, right? Right? Babylon, Persia, Rome, that whole thing. I don't know if Islam is the fulfillment of prophecy or not. But even if we grant that proposition and we say, yes, Islam is the fulfillment of prophecy that exists in the Old Testament, right? Daniel, all of the prophets, all of the writings, all of the scrolls in the Hebrew Bible, all of them point back to the 5 books of Moses. None of them say that the old covenant is broken. What they do say is that at the end of days, or whenever it comes to pass, there will be a new sky, a new earth, a new covenant, right? Then that whole thing, where God will pour His Spirit upon all flesh, like it says in the book of Yoel. I don't think we're quite there yet. Some say I'm wrong. Now, the fulfillment of prophecy cannot go against the Torah, all right? A prophet can bend rules for temporarily, like Elijah at Mount Carmel, who built an altar even though he was not allowed, but he did it because there was a necessity and a need. But to say that there is a final revelation and a final prophet, that goes against the Torah to begin with. And that's sort of saying that this new covenant negates the old covenant and makes it null and void and non-existent. But the Torah to the Hebrew people is forever. Before creation, after creation, the Torah here in its physical manifestation is this book that we know as a book of lore and legend and commandments and poetry and all of that, right? The Zohar famously says that the entirety of the 5 books of Moses is all names of the Holy One, blessed be He, ways in which God is revealed in the world. And there are the 4 very famous facets of the Torah, the Pardes, Pshat, Remez, Drash, Sod. Is Islam the fulfillment of Daniel's prophecy? I have no idea. But even if we say that it is, and that this kingdom is supposed to rule, it still can't go against the Torah. And if it is going to go against the Torah, it must, or I don't know if must, but it ought to, or it could, or it should come in such a way where it turns to the people of Israel, to the Jews, right, to the kingdom of Judah, and doesn't see them as dhimmis, right? It works alongside them to propagate, let's say, the divine revelation in the world. And yet we see that there was a time when Islam was all right with the Jews, and there are times when Islam is really against the Jews and persecutes them and wants to convert them to Islam and wants to slit their throats. So I don't know. I don't know enough about Islam to tell you if it's this fulfillment or not. I'm simply saying that even if it is a fulfillment of prophecy found in Daniel, it can't go against the Torah for the Hebrew people. Hello, my man. I have a question, says Ilya. Can a Muslim convert to Judaism? According to Judaism, yes. According to Islam, I have no idea. Because in the Hebrew faith, once you convert, you're in this covenant for life. You're in it until you're dead. If you are born into the faith, you are in it until you die, even if you convert. You're just a heretic, let's say, right? Or a Jew that's not kosher, if you will, because you went to a different deity, or your pagan ways, polytheism, whatever it is. You go against Torah if you go against the Torah. But I don't know what Islam says. The question should be directed to a Muslim. According to Islam, can a Muslim convert? According to the Hebrew faith, yes, you can convert. The only people who cannot convert, who are not allowed to be welcomed into the crowd of Adonai, 2 people. Males of the nation of Ammon, males of the nation of Moab. Those 2. And we don't even know who they are nowadays, so everyone can convert. Anyone and everyone can convert to the Hebrew faith and be part of the Hebrew tribes. However, if you ask a Muslim and he says, no, Islam forbids conversion, or even if you convert, you're still a Muslim, but you're a heretic or an infidel or I don't know what, then maybe that's the case as well. You're not saved, says Heather Wormwood. I don't know if you're talking to me or not, but yes, I definitely am not saved, not by anyone who you might consider bringing salvation. I believe that with Torah and commandments and living a proper life and trying to do good things and live with humility and righteousness to the degree that one can do that in the world, you save yourself by the grace of God. You save yourself with your doing, with your word, right? With your deeds, with your thoughts, with the way that you walk before God, with the way that you behave in the world, with yourself, with your fellow earthlings. That's how you save yourself. WTF, says Jacob Grabowski. Hey, Grabowski, how you doing? How you doing? Spill the gold from your necklace. I don't have a necklace. I don't have chains or necklaces. The only gold I have is this right here, my wedding ring. That's it. So, and this is really very tiny and very thin, not worth a lot of money. Bro, get nose reduction surgery. Eve thinks I should get rhinoplasty. What do you think, people? Should I get rhinoplasty? Last gulp of tea? Todale ya. Great tea. Great tea. Oh, so good. Okay. Corey asks, why were the high priest mad at Jesus for inviting the non-Jews? I don't know what you're talking about, man. I read the gospel once in my life, just once, so I don't know what you're talking about, Corey. If you could dumb it down for me, I'm ignorant. What tea do you like the most? Asks New Zero. Interesting. I guess green tea, just plain green tea, maybe with a bit of lemon. I love it. But I also love the different tisans, right, or tessans, however you want to pronounce it. You know, transfusions of herbs and of fruit and of things like that. Like right now, it was black tea with forest fruit, and I love it. But I'm a green tea with lemon man. That's what I am. Definitely. Okay, let's continue. Zax says, I've got several questions. The most compelling one is, and then he stops. If it's compelling, why weren't you compelled to write it? Okay. Let's see. User says, you're not taking anyone's faith by speaking your mind. It's hilarious how people in the comments are getting triggered. Oh my God, people in the comments and the chat are triggered by my mere existence because the Hebrew man following the Hebrew covenant, following the Hebrew Torah, is a pain in their ass and a thorn in their side and a beam in their eye. That's what it is. Habib says, I hear that the rabbi defeat Yahweh in wrestling. I'm assuming you mean Jacob defeating the messenger. That's not a rabbi defeating Yahweh. That's a divine revelation through Jacob overtaking and compelling the divine revelation in a messenger. That's what that was. But I have no idea what you're talking about exactly, so I don't know. Read Quran, Allah rectify corruption of Torah there. Okay, I will read Quran when there's peace. I will investigate Islam when there is peace. However, my mind, right, my views, the lens through which I would view Islam and Quran has been warped by decades of continuous war, bloodshed, and terrorism. So I don't want to approach Quran and Islam right now, because if I do, it might be from a less subjective, from a too objective, less subjective, impure mindset. And I would want to give Islam a proper run for its money and come to it from a cleaner, purer, more objective lens. And I can't do that right now. So because I cannot do that right now, I'm staying away from Islam and from Quran. And I will read it in the future when we have peace. And while we are speaking about peace, may Adonai, even right now as I am speaking these words, take away bloodshed and war and ignorance from everyone across the great universe, in the multiverse of multiverses. May death be taken away right now, even right now as I'm speaking these words, and may we come together as a unified human race, embrace each other as brothers and sisters, get back to Eden and partake of the fruit of the tree of life together. May it be so. May it be so. Okay. Just be a good person, not a religious nut job, says Jared. The problem is that some people consider being a good person to be a religious nut job. They don't see it as being a nut job, but it's like, if you want to be a good person, you must be religious. Only religious people are good. Only people in this religion are good. Only people who give their lives and who commit and who submit to this religion in fullness are good. You see how you can make it more and more and more constrained. And constraints do indeed serve their purpose, but it can be a very big issue. It can be highly problematic if it doesn't allow you your own values, right? And to think critically. There's a problem there. There might be a problem there. Okay. Lady Watching Bird says, I'm curious about that too. Why there is effort to fool him. I don't know what you're talking about, man. I don't know what you're talking about. Sorry, Lady Watching. I don't know what you mean. Exactly, think critically, bitch, says Jared. Yeah, critical thinking is something that comes along with the oral traditions more than anything. I mean, the written too, but definitely in the oral traditions. Mr. Brownstone says, God creates Israel with beautiful features. When angels worry about fairness, God says, wait until you see the neighbors I'm giving them. What? I'm not sure what you mean, Mr. Brownstone, but okay. Cyrus Mafia says, but in reality, it's bullies and shooters and thieving, adultery, sin, because drunk punk are reeling and forcing criminality, detrimental health, so the story is not all fake. I don't know what you mean, Cyrus. You're probably reacting to someone else. Thoughts on Kabbalah, says KZ Alpha. Well, I'm a student of the Tree of Life. I'm not a Kabbalist, but I'm a student of the Tree of Life. There is a lot of benefit to learning Kabbalah. My thoughts on Kabbalah are, if you're going to do it with a proper master. That's it. If you're going to learn Kabbalah, learn from a proper master. Kabbalah is the study of the 10 Sfirot and the relationships between the creation and the Creator's divine revelation and the attributes and the garments in which God clothes him, her, itself. And so, if you're going to study Kabbalah, do it properly. If you're going to study Kabbalah, beware and be cautious, because it can mess with your mind if you don't study it properly with a proper master. And it can cause you to go astray, and it can cause you to think that there are two authorities or whatnot. So do it at your detriment. But the study of the 10 Sfirot is the study of the very image of God in which we are created. The human being in the image of God is the 10 Sfirot, from crown to kingdom. Then one you guy says, "You sound like a smart dude." I have my moments. Keep it real to what you believe. I'm an atheist, but I'm scrolling and wanted to say most of the world is ignorant to their own beliefs, and it's nice to see such an open mind. Well, I try to keep an open mind. But some people have told me in the past, "Jonathan, don't be of such an open mind that your brain falls out completely." So I try to keep certain things in check. There are hills that I will die on, so to speak, pillars and flags that I stick in the ground, and places which I am willfully, blindly following and ignorant, let's say, about, by definition of the very virtue or flag or principle that I'm going by. So those are my quick thoughts on Kabbalah and on what then one Sigai says, and I appreciate it. If you want to keep scrolling, by all means keep scrolling, but we're not only discussing faith and spirituality and religion, we're also discussing self-development here on the regular, and I address almost everything that's thrown my way, so, you could stick around for that if you want. Okay. Jared, take your damn hate somewhere else, says Dorito. Hey, listen, there are many haters in the chat. I don't ban people or put people in timeouts or censor people. There are no moderators on this chat. There never were. Maybe for one time there was, for a minute, until I understood that what I wanted them to do, they cannot do. But, yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, let's continue. The lady solitude. Solitude is very good for you, by the way. Solitude and seclusion temporarily is very good for the soul and the individual. I wish I knew someone like this. You do, you know me. Hello. It's digitally and it's all zeros and ones, but it's still good to meet your digital acquaintance. I would bother them all day asking questions. By all means do. Hit me up, people in the DMs or in the comments in the DMs. I'm on X, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Facebook and Instagram. I don't post much, but I'm there for the DMs. So Hebrew Nazarite across the board, look for my tree. I'm there, happy to take your dialogue, right? Happy to converse with you, or in the chat, or in the comments. I address every single comment that is addressed to me. So by all means, if I missed you in the chat, if you have a question, if you have something you want to discuss, I will definitely love to discuss it and address it and do the dialogue with you. And that's why I'm doing this. I love doing it live, and I love doing it not live. Well, what I mean is after streaming. Obviously, it's live for me. I'm the one who's living. As for taking the hate somewhere else, I'm of the opinion that if people want to hate in the chat, let them hate. Maybe they have a lot of gunk to get out of their system. And if they take it out of their system, maybe they will be able to fill that vessel with some goodness and some positivity and some good vibration, right? So I'm all for it. Let them speak. Let them speak. Malcolm Gillis asks, is there such a thing as a Noahide? So the idea with the Noahides are, and this is a difference of opinion in halacha, on whether or not the Noahides ought to follow the 7 Noahide laws. There is the idea of the 7 Noahide laws. Some of them have their root in after the sons of Noah exited the ark. Some of them come later in the Bible. But it's not exactly clear on whether or not there is such a thing as the 7 laws of Noah. I think that most religious halachic scholars in modern-day Judaism and in rabbinic Judaism, Orthodox Judaism, say that there is, but it's still a controversy and a debate and a difference of opinion. So, is there such a thing as a Noahide? I have no idea. Maybe if I was a Gentile of the nations, I would have a thought about it, but I'm a Hebrew man, and I'm not going to tell other people how to behave. So I'm not going to tell a person who's not a Hebrew man, you're a Gentile, but you still need to keep commandments. I don't quite know how that works for me personally. On that note, oh wait, there was one more super chat that came in, and then I'm going to say goodbye. No, that's what it was. Okay, so thank you, each and every one of you, those watching now, those watching later, right? The likes, the subs, the views, the hate, the vitriol, people telling me to shave, people telling me to kill myself, people telling me I'm a pederast and a pedophile, people screaming for freeing Palestine, free Palestine from Hamas, I say, free Palestine from their corrupt, bloodthirsty, warmongering leadership. May we have real peace with our neighbors, Ishmaelites and Edomites, whatever the hell you want to call them. Doesn't matter, let's have peace. And if I missed you in the chat, hit me in the comments or in the DMs, and I will definitely get back to you. And I hope it was of some value. I hope it was of some entertainment, if not value. I love doing this with you, right? Iron sharpens iron. I love doing this with you. It makes me better. It makes me smarter. It makes me more informed. It gives me some, it's live, and it's raw, and it's magical, and it happens now, and you make it happen. Also, those who donated, I forgot to do a shout out. I forgot to do a shout out to those who donated yesterday. I will do it next time. I'll have a shout out in the beginning of the next live stream of those who gave today, those who gave yesterday. Hopefully tomorrow in the next live stream, whenever it is, I will be doing a shout out. Deeply appreciate all the donations. It all goes to charity. And again, I haven't been paid yet. When I will be paid, it will go to charity. You guys will have a say on which charity it goes to. I might alternate. I don't know. We'll see when I get paid. So far, we have raised over, I think, like close to 1,600 shekel, which is really nothing to sneeze at. All of it will go to charity. All the revenue, that is. YouTube takes a cut. And then everything that's mine will be for charity, and I will keep you as informed as I can. I will be as transparent as I can. Screenshots of analytics and all that. I want you to know if a brand deal comes my way or some sponsor, that I will keep, and I will want to give a tithe, but keep it. But everything from the super chat, the super thanks, the super stickers, and ad revenue, all of that goes to charity. All right, last super chat that came in, and then I'll say goodbye. Rick Ham says, does a conversion have to be through a synagogue, or could it be a more personal process following the laws of Torah? I'm very curious. They're not an OP. I don't know, what do you mean they're not an OP? But you can do it through an Orthodox rabbi in an Orthodox synagogue, or you can do it through a Beit Din of 3 people, right, and a couple of witnesses, and you say, right, and you take on, right, you forsake your pagan gods, you forsake your pagan ways. If you're uncircumcised, you circumcise yourself, or have someone else do it, and you decide to take on the Hebrew God and the Hebrew laws of the Torah, and you are de facto a Jew, part of the kingdom of Judah, part of the tribe of Judah, part of the Hebrew people. And always, as always, what did Hillel the sage at the time of the Second Temple say to the convert who wanted to convert, the Gentile who wanted to convert? He said, what you do, what you hate, do not do unto your fellow. That is the entirety of the Torah. The rest is commentary. Go and learn it. That's what he said. That's what I go with. You do need to do it with a kind of witnesses and a kind of court, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a synagogue, an Orthodox rabbi, not necessarily at all. The thing is that the Orthodox rabbinate will not acknowledge you as a Jew. The state of Israel will not acknowledge you probably as a Jew unless you go through a proper conversion or are born into the faith. But on a spiritual, personal level of taking on the covenant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and being part of the tribes, you don't need a rabbi, you don't need a synagogue, you need a makeshift court and witnesses. That is what you need in order to be a righteous Jew convert. That's what it is. On that note, goodbye from Jerusalem. Be blessed. Be a blessing to others. Be the light in other people's lives. And God willing, I will see you tomorrow for another live stream, whether wonders never cease. Be well. L'chaim.